So as you probably know, input delay in Fortnite is one of the most frustrating things you can possibly run into, and one of the hardest things to do is to figure out how to actually fix that. So with that in mind, guys, in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys some of the most effective methods you can use to reduce your input delay, improve your FPS, and improve your ping in Fortnite Chapter 4. Of course, the main focus of this video is going to be input delay, but since those other two factors do play into it, I'm going to go ahead and do a decent mix of all three. But overall, by following all the steps in this video, you should see a dramatic improvement in your input delay. Before we get into it, if you find this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it. As well as that, consider subscribing to the channel if you're new and want to see more content just like this. I post a ton of tips and tricks content, especially about how to improve at Fortnite. So if you want to become absolutely nasty at this game, then be sure to hit that button. And finally, guys, if you want to show some extra support, it would really mean a lot if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It takes like 5 seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a massive thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said, and without further ado, let's get into today's video. So the first step to improving your input delay in Fortnite is going to be to adjust your in-game settings and optimize them. If you have input delay, a lot of it can actually just be due to the settings you use within Fortnite and not necessarily your device itself. So for this tip, we're just going to hop into Fortnite and I'll show you a bunch of different settings. The first thing you want to do is a fairly obvious one to a lot of you guys, but a lot of people actually don't have this one correct, and that's to make sure your matchmaking region is on auto or the region closest to you. As you can see in the footage, my region is NA East. It's the lowest for me, so I'm going to go ahead and set it there, or I can set it to auto, either way. Next up, you want to make sure you're on full screen if you're on PC. If you play windowed or windowed full screen, that's actually going to make your game a lower priority on your PC, and it's going to make it run a lot more clunky, so make sure you're on full screen. Next up, you're going to want to turn off all forms of replays unless you actually use them. That way your device doesn't have to work to get them processed, and you can save up storage space as well. Next up, a big one is to use performance mode or consider reducing your graphics settings. This is pretty much 80% of what impacts your FPS in your game settings. Although performance mode isn't preferred by a lot of people, if you're running into a lot of input delay, it can definitely be worth it, and trust me, it's pretty easy to get used to it. At first, I really didn't want to make the switch. It looked really bad to me, but I really got used to it after like a day, and it's made such a massive improvement in my FPS and input delay, I would never switch back unless I had like a $5,000 PC and I could pull 240 with any settings I want, but I can't do that. So overall, guys, unless you have a fancy $5,000 PC, definitely turn your performance mode on. Next up, make sure VSync is off and make sure motion blur is off. VSync is a pretty obvious one, but although motion blur looks nice, it can actually hurt your performance quite a bit. Your game may even feel smoother with it, but it's actually going to reduce your FPS and make you play worse. So overall, make sure that's off. And for our last setting, you're going to want to turn off auto download high resolution textures if you have the option available. It may be in your game or it may be in your Epic Games launcher, and preferably you're going to want to set all of your other settings to low in terms of your graphics settings, unless you want them higher and you're willing to sacrifice FPS, but for the majority of you guys, you're just going to want to turn them on low. There is a balance you need to reach in terms of having a good looking game and having a good performance game. Personally, I'm more towards the performance side, but you can adjust this however you want. Another way to improve your FPS and input delay is actually going to be to reduce your resolution. Usually this is very easy to get used to, and it can give your game a huge boost. Even if you lower your resolution just a bit and it makes almost no difference in terms of how your game looks, it can actually give you a big boost in FPS and make your input delay way more manageable. One way to do this is simply to head into your game, go to resolution on the first tab and lower it. If you do this, you also want to make sure that you adjust your monitor resolution accordingly, which is usually going to be done either through your NVIDIA or AMD software. Another way you can make use of this tip is actually to use stretch resolution. This does make your game look a little bit different aesthetically, but a lot of people do actually prefer it. If you're interested in doing that, then go ahead. And if you don't know much about stretch resolution and you want to learn more about it, then I do have various videos about it, which include tutorials for how to set it up. So if you're not familiar with stretch resolution, I do have to get through a lot of stuff during this video, so I won't be covering it, but I do have plenty of videos that cover that, so just check out the channel and you should be able to find them. But overall, by making your device load less pixels, you're able to boost your FPS and likely reduce input delay, making your game way smoother. A very simple tip I have for you guys, and one of the most overlooked ways to improve input delay, is to turn off other apps. Various apps like Discord, Spotify, YouTube, and plenty of others can actually take up your device's resources as well as internet and may end up hurting your performance quite a bit. Now, of course, you probably don't want to eliminate these entirely, since something like music or talking to people is good, but you want to try and limit the unnecessary stuff. Basically, don't leave random apps running in the background, don't leave your Chrome on if you're not using it, maybe switch to game chat, etc. On PC, you can also consider turning off the apps that start right when your PC does. All you got to do for that is go to your search bar, search startup apps, and disable the ones you don't use or the ones you don't always need. And that way you can stop the apps that run in the background often without you knowing, and that can make a big impact on your performance. Moving on to our next tip, and a very simple step you can do on PC is simply to do a virus scan. Oftentimes, input delay is going to be caused by some sort of malware on your device taking up space and interfering with regular operations. I recommend you download the software Malwarebytes. That's going to be malware bytes. Go ahead and download that, do a quick scan, and you'll find out if you do have any malware on your device. If you do, you have a couple of options. You can quarantine it, which means basically disabling it. You can delete it entirely, or if it's really bad, then you could consider doing a full factory reset to get rid of it all and clear up your whole device. And honestly, I don't really mind the idea of doing a full factory reset once every couple of years. My reasoning for that is because you do have a lot of stuff in your background that you have downloaded that you don't ever use. And really, you can go through and clean up your whole PC, or you can just restart from scratch and basically download everything manually again. However you decide to approach it, a virus scan is definitely going to be an important thing to do in order to make sure the cause of your performance issues isn't something like a virus. And if it is, you can take care of it and improve your performance dramatically. So overall, that's not going to help all you guys, but the people it does help are going to be helped a lot. Moving on to our next step, and this one is to update your drivers and verify your files. These are two separate tips, but I put them together for some reason, so let's just go over it. One simple step to make sure your game is running properly is to update your drivers on PC and verify your game files to make sure nothing is corrupted. This is especially helpful if you deal with crashes and whatnot. For the driver step, simply head to your GPU provider's website. Usually that's going to be NVIDIA or AMD. You're going to go ahead and search according to your graphics card, as you can see I did on screen, and you should be able to download the most up-to-date driver, which is generally going to be the best one. It's going to make sure everything's compatible, and overall it's going to help a lot. To verify your files, it's super simple. Just head to the Epic Games launcher, click the three dots next to Fortnite, go to Manage, and click Verify. This is going to take a couple of minutes, but it's going to ensure that your game is programmed correctly and that no files are either missing or corrupted, because those can hurt performance a lot. And by doing these steps, you should see a big improvement in crashes, stutters, and anything along those lines. Another option to improve your ping, FPS, and input delay is to actually try out an external app. Now, this is not a sponsored video, but I do want to bring up a longtime sponsor of the channel and a company I personally like a lot, which is NoPing. NoPing is basically an internet tunnel which routes your connection through private servers straight to Epic servers. So all you got to do is select a server in your region and you should see a reduction in ping. NoPing also has a boost FPS setting which adjusts your device's settings to improve performance, and a keyboard response setting which makes it way more responsive, both of which are easily reversible if you need to. So overall, this is not a sponsored video once again, but I do really like NoPing, and if you're dealing with input delay, it's definitely worth a shot. I'll go ahead and put a link to it near the top of the description if you want to start a free trial with them. I definitely recommend it if you have any issues with ping, FPS, or your game's responsiveness, and hopefully that should help you guys out. And finally guys, getting into our last tip for this video, and this one is to open up disk space. If the disk on your device is overloaded with stuff, then this can hurt your performance a ton. I'd recommend you make sure to check how much storage you have available, and you should have a minimum of around 10%. If you don't have at least 10% available, I recommend you uninstall some apps or delete some stuff that you don't need. Oftentimes people run into these input delay and FPS issues simply because their disk space is full and their device has nowhere to put the temporary files as they play, and this can have massive detriments for performance. So if you check out your storage and you realize that more than 90% or so is taken up, then you definitely want to take steps to make sure that you can fix that. That can involve uninstalling apps, deleting pictures and videos, or whatever else you need to do. Another option is even to go on Amazon or something like that and buy more storage for your PC, but that's kind of a last resort. Overall though, if you do not have enough disk space on your device, then it's going to help you an absolute ton if you can get rid of some stuff, so definitely make sure to check that out. But with all that said guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on how to dramatically improve your input delay in Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2 and in future seasons. Overall, this video mostly consisted of some pretty simple steps, but these should help you an absolute ton if you're dealing with input delay. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, and consider subscribing as well if you're new to the channel and you want to see more content just like this in the future. I post a ton of Fortnite tips and tricks content, mostly based around improving at the game. So if you want to become absolutely nasty at this game, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course guys, it's really appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you. It takes like 5 seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a huge thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.